So this is the yearly chart for Bitcoin, and one of the easiest way to actually look for prophecy, especially into the new year, is just to look at the yearly candle, especially the previous yearly candle. So this is the yearly, the monthly, the 12-month candle for Bitcoin. And if you've seen this, you can clearly tell that the Bitcoin chart is actually bullish. We are bullish, okay, by just looking at the fact that the market is constantly breaking highs and then failing to break lows. So what do I mean? So this is a high. If you mark this high, you realize the market broke over it and went up and then gave us another high here, which it also broke and went. And finally, we have another high here and the market has broken above it. So this is to say that for all these years, we've been bullish, although we've had incidences where Bitcoin was bearish, especially if you come to this candle. This is the year 2018, and then also the year 2022. So these were the years in which we had bearish market sentiment. But if you notice, this bearish market sentiment could not actually break further than this when market dropped. And then when it dropped here also, it could not break below this. And we have this year now that we have to just focus in. And what I want you to observe here is that, yes, we are still bullish because we're broken above this high. And then we came to form an all-time highs here. Now, if you are familiar with candlesticks, you realize that this candlesticks is actually a doji candlestick. This is not an indication of a trend change. But what we want you to observe here is that just the same way when the market broke above these highs and came back is what we shall look for. In case price comes back into this area here, this is where we shall be looking for buying opportunities. If we get further confirmation or price changing and then price heading up. With this being said, we need to also mark the yearly low. This is the yearly low, which will act as our immediate support, and this will act as our resistance in case price pulls back into this area. And don't forget these other areas. So what we want to see now is how soon or what is price going to do? Is it going to come back to all these all-time highs before it can drop, or comes to this before it can rise? The best way to answer this is to come to a lower time frame. So let's just switch to the monthly candle and we see how price is actually behaving on the monthly chart. Okay. Now you just keep everything you did on the yearly, keep it there, because we're doing a multi-time frame analysis, and then have these as your lows. So what do you see on the monthly candle here? You can clearly tell this is our resistance. And if you look at this candle here, is a strong bearish candle. That is what we call our price difference candle. This candle here has created a difference here. And the difference between this high and then this new low is actually this candle. And to be more specific, it is here. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept of price difference, I've explained it in several videos. You just need to check our YouTube, which is Throne, and you'll be able to find the concept of price difference there. So continuing with our analysis, that means now, if price is able to pull back into this area here, this is the potential resistance. We will look for trading opportunities here. However, as we speak now, we have a high here, a monthly high, which will also act as our potential resistance. So from this monthly high here, we can begin to see if price reaches into this area here, gives us a resistance, a change of trend, double top, a head and shoulders, we could look for that. And then we also have these other lows here, which is a wick that has not yet been filled. And we also have another low here, which is a wick which has not yet been filled. So if you study the market now from the monthly and the yearly, you realize we have no trade yet. Where do we want to trade? We want to only trade when price is at these key levels here, at these key levels here, these key levels here, and then here. But of course, with confirmation. So there's absolutely no trade here on the monthly, on the yearly, although we are bearish because the market has broken these lows here. But remember, the trend has not totally changed until the market breaks below this and then this. Okay, on the bigger picture, we are still bullish. But however, we're having a pullback. But if this pullback comes to break below these areas here, then we can know we are in the official bear market. So with that being said, we can now switch to the weekly. And this is how the weekly candle looks like. Okay. So the weekly candle here, you can clearly see that whatever you've marked on the monthly, it is still far from the current market price. The current market price being here at around 89,799. Okay. So meaning if price pulls into this area, this is where we shall look for trades, especially if we get confirmation. But don't forget this price difference area also here, because the difference between this high and then this new low is also here based off the weekly. So the question always is, how do I see or which price difference is the best for me and how can I trade there? The answer is best answered if price comes to any price difference, any highs or any lows, you need to come to a lower time frame and study market structure, which we are trying to tackle now. But the next thing I want you to observe here is that this is the weekly. On the weekly, we have the highs here. These are the highs, which will also act as our resistance. So you don't want to underestimate these highs here. The market could actually turn from here before reaching to these monthly resistance. Remember, this is a monthly resistance and this weekly price difference, and this is a monthly price difference. So now let's see how price is playing out around here. Remember, you see these weeks here, the market has actually rejected and done all of that. So let's switch to the daily. So on the daily, what do we see? Okay. So on the daily, you are seeing an area here. Market is being resisted from going further up into this area here. So for us to confirm or to know that the market is actually going to either break or come back down, we need to also study this candle here. Because if you can see, the market formed a strong support here, and then it has failed to break below this area. Instead, it has come to break above this, okay? Especially with this candle here, you can see it has broken above this, okay? So now, what I want to observe and where we are going to possibly trade, right now the market is actually into this resistance and then these other support. So you don't want to get involved now until the market either breaks below here or above this and then continues. So finally, we can come to the 4-hourly and begin to observe how price is actually behaving on the 4-hourly time frame. And if you see this on the 4-hourly, this is exactly how you would want to see. So you can clearly tell this is an area the market has failed to break. And then this is also an area the market has failed to break. In other words, we are actually stuck here. And now we want to see what the next move is going to be. So what is the best move here is for the market to get out of this range, either to the upside or to the downside, forms a lower low and then continue to do that, or breaks and then forms a higher high. But if you look at these signs here, you're going to realize what the market is actually trying to do on the 4-hourly. So we have another break here, okay? So let's see now how price is going to hold here, whether it will break, it will come retest this and break down or get out of this range. So the only time we would actually trade, especially Bitcoin, is if price gets out of this range to the downside or to the upside. But the way things look like, it could get out to the upside, but we don't know yet. We have to see further up. And then once this happens, these are the areas in which we shall trade. So this is the full breakdown from the yearly to the weekly to from the monthly, weekly, daily, and to the hourly time frame. So the best thing to do now is to wait for price to take the next steps. Of course, this will happen when there is volume. We are into the weekends now. I don't know whether we can have enough volume, but let's see what happens throughout the week, how price is going to get out of this. But this is our Bitcoin yearly prophecy. So let's see how it plays out. You must have the picture of the yearly in your mind and see how you can now trade on the smaller time frames. And you don't need to mark. So all you have to do is wait for price to be able to come to all these areas that we marked. Those are the areas in which prices are going to react. If price comes to any of these key level areas we've drawn, it is going to react. And that reaction there will determine how we are going to trade, because from those reactions, we can begin to see market structure shift. Market beginning to form lower lows, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, your order block, and all the patterns that you know, they happen around these areas here. So let's just see how this is going to play out from next week, from next month, from the other coming days.